On the day my childhood fiancé and I were supposed to get engaged, he showed up late. By the time Ethan Cole rushed in, I was already holding the microphone, calmly announcing to all the guests that the engagement was canceled. He believed he had a perfectly valid reason and even blamed me for not being understanding. Emily skipped class and the school called us in. My parents didn't miss this on purpose, Rachel Lane. Hey, are you really getting upset over something so minor? Do you want both families to lose face? He said. I smiled lightly and accepted his words. You're right, I am exactly the kind of spoiled young lady who can't stand even the slightest grievance. Even on such an important day, Ethan Cole still chose to put me in a difficult position. Right then, Emily Hughes immediately jumped in with a sneer. Humph, exactly. You're just a brainless pretty vase. You're totally unworthy of my Uncle Ethan. I did not bother arguing. I set the microphone down and turned to walk away. Ethan did not follow me. He simply turned back to everyone with a calm face and said, I'm sorry, everyone. Rachel can be a bit stubborn, but the marriage alliance between the Lane and Cole families is certain. We'll see you all again at the wedding. But 1 month later, when he saw me walking in with my newlywed husband on my arm after a whirlwind marriage, his expression instantly froze. And he completely lost his composure in front of the crowd. As for when I disappeared for 3 days, Ethan Cole remained the same as usual, going to work in the morning and busy at night. He casually sent me a WeChat message. You've caused enough trouble. Come back. As the heir of the Lane family and my fiancé, you've embarrassed the corporation enough. A red exclamation mark popped up. The message failed to send. Suppressing his irritation, Ethan searched for my number. He had never had much patience with me. When he couldn't reach my phone, his frustration peaked, and he threw his cell phone onto the desk. He was clearly fed up with me, yet still picked up the landline to tell his secretary, Lisa, prepare a gift for Rachel Lane. After I finish meeting President Clark this afternoon, tell the driver to go straight to the Lane house. Once everything was arranged, Ethan forced down his emotions, lowered his head, and continued working through his documents, not giving it another thought. He did not expect his effort would be wasted. He had no real desire to see me anyway. He was only maintaining appearances. So when the butler reported that I had not returned home, he did not even step inside. His face cold, he simply told the driver to turn the car around. All of that was exactly within my expectations. The Lane and Cole families had been lifelong friends. Before Ethan and I were even born, our engagement had already been arranged. Both sets of parents approved of each other and did not care at all about our feelings. I could never stand Ethan Cole's cold, pretentious, high-and-mighty CEO persona, and he could not stand my stubborn, arrogant temper. For years, I only hoped to cut ties with him completely, but I could not escape our parents' matchmaking. From kindergarten through university, we were always in the same class. He chose philosophy, I chose finance. We finally ended up in entirely separate buildings, a rare moment of agreement between childhood acquaintances like us. Staying out of each other's sight meant less annoyance. But even after graduation, I still could not escape the fate of a marriage alliance. The Cole family wanted Ethan to take over the company, and the Lane family needed capital to go public. The two families happened to align perfectly. So they placed our marriage on the negotiation table. In the beginning, neither Ethan nor I liked each other, but for the sake of mutual benefit, we reluctantly cooperated and temporarily accepted the engagement. But everything that happened at the engagement banquet completely exhausted my patience, and the spark that ignited everything was Emily Hughes. 3 years ago, Mr. and Mrs. Hughes, the couple sponsored by the Cole family at an orphanage, died in a car accident. Their daughter, Emily Hughes, was adopted into the Cole household and formally registered under their family name. She was withdrawn and disliked strangers, but depended excessively on Ethan Cole, a man who had no blood relation to her whatsoever. And because of that, the conflict between Ethan Cole and me only grew deeper. At an investment solicitation event the two of us attended together. He was responsible for presenting the project, I handled the social engagements. Everything had been clearly divided, and the negotiations were going smoothly. But at the last minute, he suddenly abandoned the investors midway and walked out, leaving me alone in an awkward situation. Without the project documents in hand, all I could do was raise my glass again and again, apologizing repeatedly. Even so, the investors still blacklisted both the Cole and Lane companies, and the losses afterward were significant. I was so furious that I went straight to the Cole residence to confront him, only to happen to witness him driving Emily Hughes home. He even took off his suit jacket and placed it over her shoulders. The reason was that Emily had turned off her phone and posted a photo by the ocean with a cryptic caption, "If I jump into the sea, will I get to see my mom again?" I looked at the girl being protected so carefully by Ethan Cole, every strand of her hair was dry. Yet someone still worried about her to the point of losing all composure. It was the first time I had ever seen Ethan, always calm and composed in the business world, lose his rationality like that. Back then, Emily Hughes was only 12. Every time our eyes met, she would shrink behind Uncle Ethan in fear. But I could still see it. Hidden within her gaze was a hint of provocation. Just like the very first time we met, no matter what I did, she never appreciated it. As she grew older and gained the backing of Ethan Cole, Emily no longer bothered to pretend to be obedient. She openly displayed her dislike toward me. I had told Ethan many times that the girl did not have a good heart, but he never listened. Instead, he grew even more annoyed with me. No one understood Ethan Cole better than I did. A businessman who valued profit above all else. Cold and pragmatic. Since childhood, the Lane family had trained me meticulously. Everything I studied and every social skill I learned had to be centered around him. To cultivate the proper temperament, I spent 2 hours each day learning flower arranging alongside piano, horseback riding, and golf. On weekends, I took cooking lessons and made desserts to deliver to Ethan personally. Even though he never ate them, I still had to maintain the image of a beautiful, well-bred fiancée. In society, people jokingly called me the perfect, domestic goddess. Ever since Emily Hughes appeared, every time Ethan ruined a business deal, I was the one who stepped in to clean up the aftermath. I could accept a marriage bound by interests, a relationship without love, but once Ethan became unreliable, even having him stand beside me as a partner who merely tolerated my presence became unnecessary. 1 week passed with more than 100 missed calls. Some were angry, some impatient, some indifferent. On a resort island, groups of young men and women were laughing and taking pictures on the sand. My best friend, Brooke Wyatt, walked over holding a glass of fruit cocktail. "Rachel Lane, you really went too far this time. I'm afraid it'll be hard to smooth things over." I stretched out on the lounge chair, sunglasses on, enjoying the warm sun. My voice was light. When I said the engagement was off, I wasn't joking. I truly don't want to marry Ethan Cole. The moment I left the engagement banquet, I immediately called Brooke and booked a flight overseas, escaping to this romantic island to avoid everyone. Brooke sighed, slightly regretful. "Honestly, you and Ethan Cole do look good together. A well-matched pair, on paper at least. It's just that he looks decent, but his character's not great." I removed my sunglasses and took a large sip of the red and green fruit cocktail, sweet yet spicy, so unpleasant it made me frown. "Just like Ethan Cole," I said, "nice on the outside, worthless on the inside." I let out a faint, dry laugh. I scoffed lightly. "Regret? There's nothing to regret. Character is everything. Even if I don't think for myself, for the sake of the company's future, I have to cut my losses in time. Besides, in this world, a 3-legged toad is hard to find, but good-looking men are everywhere. You think I, Rachel Lane, can't find someone more handsome than Ethan Cole?" Brooke burst out laughing and tapped her glass against mine. "Well said. Tonight I'll find you a gorgeous guy, one who beats Ethan Cole in every possible way." I teased her back. "Please, you still have Logan Turner glued to your side. If you actually manage to find a handsome guy, I'll cover the entire cost of this trip." Brooke only smiled without answering. I thought she was just joking, but half an hour later, when I swiped my card to unlock my room door, turned on the lights and looked up, I was met with the deep, intense gaze of a man so handsome he could make even a dog feel cherished. Unlike my shock, the man standing before me was completely calm. The corner of his lips lifted in a perfect smile, his voice both innocent and dangerously alluring. "Miss Lane, do I meet your expectations?" This man didn't just have a striking face and a tall, well-built figure. Even his voice sounded smooth and pleasant. More importantly, he was clearly younger than Ethan Cole. Before I could react, his eyes softened with unmistakable affection, and his handsome face slowly leaned closer. His breath, warm against my skin, made my mind explode in a single loud burst. I instantly regretted running my mouth earlier. The atmosphere in the room thickened with something unmistakably suggestive. Fortunately, I managed to hold on to the last bit of rationality and pushed him away in time. "What's your name? And there's nothing wrong with your health, right?" He looked at me with dark, unreadable eyes. "I'm Lucas Turner, Logan's cousin." I blinked. I had never once heard Brooke mention that Logan had a younger cousin like this. When Lucas didn't continue speaking, I suddenly realized how forward my question had been. Heat rushing to my cheeks. I avoided his gaze, trying to hide my embarrassment. "My apologies, Mr. Turner. I misunderstood." The smile at his lips slowly faded, his voice dropping into a deeper, warmer tone. "Rachel Lane, you really don't remember me?" I frowned slightly, staring at his face, but nothing came to mind. Lucas let out a helpless sigh and began unbuttoning his shirt. I instinctively backed away, but he calmly explained, "Don't worry, Miss Lane. I just want to show you the birthmark on my shoulder." My eyes stopped on his left shoulder, a vivid red diamond-shaped birthmark. Memories rushed back instantly. When I was in high school, I had helped a middle school boy who was cornered and robbed by a group of older kids. He had been beaten and had his money taken. I told the driver to stop so I could intervene. Before leaving, I accidentally saw that his torn school uniform exposed a bright red birthmark on his shoulder. I never expected that boy to be Lucas. Seeing me frozen, Lucas spoke softly. "Miss Lane, don't you remember? I was in 8th grade back then." Before he could finish, I cut him off quickly. Of course I remember. The little boy from back then. You've grown up so much, and much more handsome now." Lucas looked both helpless and slightly amused. "Rachel, I'm only 2 grades below you. I'm hardly a little boy anymore." Feeling a bit embarrassed, I tried to smooth things over. "Well, technically, I'm from the same year as Logan and Brooke, so you're sort of like half a little brother to me." Lucas's eyes darkened faintly, a subtle meaning hidden beneath. "If that's the case, then about the 2 questions you asked earlier, let me answer the second one now. My health is perfect. No bad habits, no illnesses. If you don't believe me, I can send you my full medical report from this year by email." I was completely caught off guard, my face burning as I nearly choked on my drink. This little brother was far bolder than I ever imagined. Earlier I was only joking, and besides, Lucas Turner was related to Logan. No matter how reckless I might be, I would never lay a hand on someone I had never even met before. This time, Brooke truly got me into trouble. I forced a smile and said, "Lucas, Brooke wasn't being serious. She was just fooling around. Everything that happened today was just for fun. Don't take it to heart." Lucas let out a soft laugh, but his gaze remained intensely captivating. There was no denying it. The Turner genes were exceptional. Logan already had naturally alluring eyes, and Lucas was no different. With just the slightest smile, he exuded a depth of emotion that could easily draw someone in. Suddenly, my phone rang, breaking the suffocating atmosphere. I felt as if I'd been pardoned and let out a quiet breath of relief. But the moment I heard Ethan Cole's voice from the other end, my expression darkened. "Rachel Lane, do you realize you're an adult? You're too old to be playing childish disappearing games. The media has been spreading rumors these past few days that there are issues with the Cole and Lane engagement. I don't care where you are. Tonight, President Kingston of Sterling Group is hosting a charity gala at the Grand Regent Hotel. You are required to attend. Don't test my patience. Otherwise, deal with the consequences yourself." Right as he finished speaking, a soft female voice chimed in from his side. "Ethan, I'll be attending the gala tonight too. Which dress do you think looks better on me?" Then she continued, "Ethan, this blue diamond-studded suit looks perfect on you. It matches the blue stones on the dress I'm planning to wear." Before I had to endure another second of Emily Hughes's theatrics, I hung up. Those little manipulative tricks of hers were obvious to me. I didn't care about Ethan at all, much less feel jealous or angry. Ever since I was young, I'd been accustomed to these clumsy performances, just like my mother. She always knew my father had another woman outside, yet she chose to turn a blind eye. For years, in the eyes of outsiders, my parents were the perfect couple. No one knew how much money had been spent to maintain that illusion of deep love and unwavering loyalty. In wealthy families, marriages were rarely built on genuine affection. Everything was a stage built for profit. In the past, in order to maintain the engagement, I tolerated everything and played the role of the gentle, obedient fiancée. I even quarreled with Emily on multiple occasions. But now, I no longer wished to act. Not long after, my phone rang again, the same number as before. I was about to reject the call when Lucas snatched it up faster than I expected. Emily's voice rang through, sharp and provocative. "Rachel Lane, I said all that on purpose earlier so you could hear it. You've been gone for days, and Ethan hasn't even bothered to mention you once." I reached to grab the phone back, but Lucas used his height advantage to dodge me and deliberately replied, "That's wonderful then. Hey, you conniving little homewrecker, do me a favor and keep Ethan Cole to yourself. Don't let him come disturbing me and my sister again." The line went silent. Clearly, Emily hadn't expected that. I was so furious, heat shot straight to my head. I pinched Lucas hard on the soft spot of his waist, and only then did I manage to reclaim my phone. "Lucas, what do you think you're doing? Do you have any idea how much trouble those words could get me into?" He winced from the pain, bending slightly and lowering his voice in surrender. "I'm sorry, Rachel. Don't be mad. I just couldn't stand seeing a petty person get carried away." I replied coldly. "Your behavior is no different from hers. Childish and ridiculous, both of you." Lucas's clear eyes dimmed slightly, a thin shimmer of moisture forming in them, and his voice carried a hint of wounded grievance. "I was being presumptuous, I'm sorry." I immediately ordered him out of my room. "I don't have time to play house with you." My coldness made Lucas visibly unsettled. "Rachel Lane, don't be mad. It was my fault. I don't want to hear any more pointless apologies." I cut him off sharply. "Leave. Whatever connection we may have had in the past, someone who barges into another person's private matters without permission only shows himself to be rude and poorly raised in my eyes." Lucas's expression darkened slightly. Then he bowed deeply to me. "I'm sorry." With that, he turned and walked out. I suddenly called after him. "Leave the room, card." His eyes dimmed further, unable to hide the bitterness in them. He walked back, set the card on the table, and murmured a final apology before the door opened and closed behind him. A cold draft slipped in from the hallway, making the room feel even more empty than before. My phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. I answered and switched to speakerphone. As expected, the person on the other end was Ethan Cole, his voice low and furious, as if ready to settle scores with me. "Rachel Lane, I will never marry a woman who behaves so shamelessly before marriage. You'd better come back immediately. If I catch you in the act myself, neither the Lane nor the Cole family will escape the backlash of public opinion." Ethan was practically grinding his teeth, but I remained calm, so calm that I even let out a cold laugh. "Ethan Cole, do you not understand human language?" The other end went silent for a beat, then his voice filled with disbelief. "What do you mean? Rachel Lane, you're the one failing your duties, and yet you dare talk to me like that?" The corner of my lip twitched upward. My voice was blunt and unwavering. "I already told you, our engagement is cancelled. There is nothing between us anymore. You have no right to interfere in my life. Don't call me again." I hung up without hesitation. Everything was unfolding exactly as I planned. For years, Ethan Cole used our engagement to tie me down, taking my sacrifices and patience for granted. But now, I had no intention of cleaning up after him anymore. In the past, because of Emily Hughes, he had cost the company a loss far greater than this one, and I still forced myself to bear the burden for him. This time, although calling off the engagement publicly would affect the Lane Corporation, it wasn't enough to bankrupt us. At worst, profits would fluctuate. My parents were business people. They knew that occasional risks weren't always a bad thing. I slept peacefully until morning. When the doorbell rang, I groggily walked over to open it. Standing outside was Lucas Turner, holding a tray of food and wearing a flawless smile. "Good morning, Miss Lane. Your cousin Brooke said you like pork floss sponge cake. I'm pretty good at cooking. Would you like to try some?" I looked up at him, keeping my expression completely neutral. "Didn't you hear what I said last night?" Lucas's gaze dimmed with a hint of gloom. At least give me a chance to make up for my mistake. If you give me a death sentence right away, I'll probably never recover for the rest of my life. I scoffed lightly. Using morality to guilt-trip me won't work. But he didn't give up. Don't overthink it. I'll just leave the cake and go. I slammed the door shut decisively, not giving him even a sliver of space. Moments later, my phone rang again. It was Brooke. Rachel Lane, your parents called me. What are you gonna do now? No need to worry. I'll handle it. My eyes narrowed slightly, a faint headache forming. Brooke sent me a series of photos from last night. Ethan Cole and Emily Hughes attending the Sterling Group charity gala together. Emily had shed her childish air entirely. Her features were now refined, polished, the picture of an elegant young society lady. Standing beside Ethan, the two of them wore matching tones, looking impossibly coordinated, chatting and laughing intimately. And just like that, I remembered the night of Emily Hughes's 18th birthday party. Ethan Cole once got into a physical fight with someone. As the heir of the Cole family, he had always been taught perfect manners. No matter how difficult the situation, he was expected to handle it gracefully. But that day, when Chairman Wong invited Emily Hughes to dance, Ethan not only rejected the invitation on her behalf, he caused the company to lose a contract worth tens of millions. He simply would not allow Emily to suffer even the slightest grievance, yet he left me to clean up the aftermath. Afterward, I was the one who had to arrange a meeting to apologize to Chairman Wong. I drank until my stomach bled just to save the contract. Meanwhile, Ethan Cole had been busy taking Emily shopping. Thinking back, I suppose it was because he was so irresponsible that I eventually gained the opportunity to insert myself into the company's decision-making process. The thought made the corner of my lips curve faintly upward. I changed clothes and prepared to head out, but the moment I opened the door, I saw Lucas Turner waiting in the hallway, clearly having never left. Miss Lane, can we talk? I paused, already calculating my next move. We went down to the cafe in the lobby. Once seated, Lucas looked somewhat uneasy. I went straight to the point. If you're here to apologize, don't bother. He panicked slightly, hurriedly explaining, no, that's not why I'm here. I calmly opened my phone and scrolled to the introduction page for the international branch of the Turner Corporation. This is your family's business, correct? Lucas nodded. My cousin Logan manages the domestic division. My sister Laura Turner oversees the international division. I spoke bluntly. I want to discuss business with your sister. If you're willing to introduce me, then everything between you and me will be cleared. Lucas looked conflicted, but I had already anticipated that. Last night, I had people investigate. The Turner Corporation had built its foundation in the domestic market, but the overseas division only began to surge thanks to initial investment capital and dividend shares. After Laura took over, in just 2 years, she rallied major shareholders, implemented new strategies, boosted profits significantly, and centralized power into her own hands. In other words, the company essentially belonged entirely to the Turner family now. Laura Turner was the type of woman who was strong, decisive, and exceptionally capable. In contrast, Lucas had no real interest in the business world. After middle school, he went abroad to study sculpture. His return this time was most likely to avoid his formidable sister. My plan was clear. As long as I could open a path to the international market, even without cooperating with the Cole Corporation, Lane Group could still go public smoothly. That way, my parents and the shareholders would have no reason to force me to maintain the engagement. I said, just give me your sister's email address. I'll contact her myself. Lucas nodded immediately. All right. As we continued talking, my phone rang. The moment I saw the caller ID, I already knew. Emily Hughes's voice burst through, laced with hostility. Rachel Lane, you really have no shame. Ethan has been worried sick because of you. He's exhausted, stressed, and now he has stomach pains with a high fever. Where are you? I found it ridiculous. If he's sick, take him to a hospital. I'm not a doctor. Why are you calling me? Emily continued to order me around without shame. I don't know how to drive. You come pick Ethan up and take him to the hospital. My voice turned icy, then let him die. The moment I finished speaking and prepared to hang up, Ethan Cole finally couldn't endure it anymore and revealed his true temper. Rachel Lane, Are you really trying to turn against me? I had no intention of wasting breath on someone as neurotic as he was. But right then, the call interface switched to video, and I saw that my parents were also present. My mother spoke first, her voice cold with reproach. Rachel Lane, don't think just because you're colluding with Brooke that your mother can't find you. You can go on vacation for a few days, that much is fine, but when it comes to company matters, we cannot let you act recklessly. My mother's voice was sharp with displeasure. My father joined in. This engagement cannot be changed. Ethan was late that day because of circumstances beyond his control. Don't push your luck. If outsiders see this, they'll laugh at our family. The Coles, of course, were the kind who smiled on the surface, but hid knives behind their backs. Outwardly, they advised Ethan to be patient with me, but underneath it was nothing but suspicion. Afraid I would cheat on their precious heir, even before marriage. I didn't show Ethan Cole any courtesy. Your manipulative tricks are truly embarrassing. Instead of wasting time acting out some tragic lover's play with me, why don't you accept reality? I will not marry you, and starting today, Lane Group will terminate all cooperation with Cole Corporation. Before my parents could speak, I cut off every path of objection. All company data and client resources are in my hands. Investors and partners only work with me. If you don't want profits to plummet, stay out of my affairs. Ethan Cole was so enraged, he lost all composure. Rachel Lane, do you even know what you're saying? The Cole and Lane families rise together and fall together. What exactly are you causing trouble for? Just because I was 30 minutes late to the engagement? I replied calmly. It's simple. I find Emily Hughes annoying. If you can kick her out of the Cole household, then I'll consider going through with the wedding. At that moment, Lucas spoke softly. Rachel. His tone made me pause. I immediately saw through his intention. Lucas was deliberately trying to sever every last thread between Ethan and me. Unfortunately, that kind of possessiveness, making decisions for others, was off-putting and suffocating. On the phone, Ethan clearly heard Lucas's voice. His tone dropped, dark and accusatory. Rachel Lane, we only just got engaged and you're already throwing away all dignity? You can't even bother to hide your lover? I refused to back down. A man who couldn't even be bothered to exchange rings at the engagement ceremony doesn't get to talk to me about dignity. And don't think I don't know, you bought identical wedding rings for both me and Emily. Seeing that ring on my hand made me sick. He sounded as if nothing were wrong. Our wedding bands were indeed custom-made, but Emily liked the design too. As her elder, must you really be so petty? Before I could respond, Lucas cut in with mocking disdain. If that's the case, Mr. Cole, why don't you marry Emily? Maybe she'd like that too. Just one sentence was enough to make Ethan erupt. Watch your mouth. Emily and I are family. Emily immediately jumped in, adding fuel to the fire. Ethan, don't be mad. I already told you, Rachel Lane is out seducing other men. You didn't believe me, but now you see it yourself. How can a shameless, immoral woman like her ever marry into the Cole family? I didn't bother explaining. My voice was steady. Mom, Dad, from now on, don't associate with the Cole family anymore. The engagement between Ethan Cole and me ends today. And I hung up. Lucas looked at me, unmistakably pleased with himself. You're not going to explain? I thought silently. Perhaps because he had been bullied when he was young, there was something twisted and stubborn in him. But acting out of spite to repay kindness only made me uncomfortable. More than half a month passed. Ethan Cole never came looking for me again. I had already finalized the cooperation agreement with Laura Turner, and Lucas still clung to me relentlessly. I kept silent, showing no emotion at all, until one night when he appeared in my room again and spoke frankly. Rachel Lane, I already know about the business cooperation between you and my sister. I remember everything, so what now? Lucas said, if you want to work with the Turner family, there's no need to go through such a complicated detour. Compared to Ethan Cole, I'm actually more suitable to be your marriage partner. You and my sister both love business. I can support you wholeheartedly. I didn't hesitate. Then let's get married. Lucas froze completely, shocked by how straightforward I was. I clarified calmly and decisively, we'll return to the country tomorrow and register our marriage. If the deadline passes, then fine. Your sister Laura Turner already sent me your household registration booklet. Lucas had never imagined things could progress this quickly. He should have been thrilled, yet hesitation flickered across his face as he asked, "Are you really serious?" I remained composed. "Of course." His expression dimmed slightly. "You treat marriage like a business deal. You don't actually like me." I didn't deny it. "You said it yourself. You're more suitable for a marriage alliance with me than Ethan Cole. You're just romanticizing those fairy tale stories of a prince falling for Cinderella. But don't forget, Cinderella was still the youngest daughter of a noble family, favored by birth. Think about your sister, Laura. Do you really believe she would fall in love with a penniless man, give up the company she fought to build, and walk away from everything? How can you ignore reality and dream about happiness just because you've lived in comfort, always protected by others?" I continued, "You say you like me, that's fine. I agree to get married, but our life afterward won't be any different from what it is now." Lucas's lips twitched, but he couldn't find anything to refute. I laid it out plainly. "The choice is yours. I'm flying at 9 a.m. tomorrow. If you want to register for marriage, come back with me. If not, your sister will send someone to pick you up, and close the door on your way out. Good night." With that, I got into bed. Lucas turned and left, his silhouette down the hallway looking unbearably lonely. 1 month later, I appeared at the press conference for Lane Group's stock market debut. The moment Ethan Cole heard the news, he rushed over. In the backstage dressing room, he had the staff clear everyone out before confronting me unexpectedly. "Rachel Lane, how is it that I heard nothing about Lane Group going public? And why didn't you disclose anything about your cooperation with Laura Turner?" I pressed my lips together, blotting my lipstick lightly as I looked at him with a half smile. "Ethan Cole, I am no longer your fiancé. What right do you have to stand here and raise your voice at me?" But he remained stubborn, anger flaring as he grabbed my arm. "Rachel Lane, I already said, the engagement was never cancelled. What tricks did you pull to abandon the Cole Corporation and go looking for a new backer? Don't forget the Cole and Lane families share honor and disgrace. How dare you betray us like this?" My voice turned cold. "Ethan Cole, you indulged Emily Hughes's antics and let her ruin deal after deal. And now you're blaming me? Business is driven by profit. The so-called engagement between us was just something spoken aloud, not a legally binding contract. And besides, we've already gone our separate ways." As we argued, Emily Hughes pushed the door open, her voice sharp with accusation. "Do you have any conscience at all? Ethan has always put you first. How can you treat him like this?" I jerked my arm free from Ethan and rubbed my wrist before slapping her across the face, clean and hard. "Emily Hughes, I let things slide before out of respect for the Cole and Lane families, but that doesn't mean you can be rude and ill-mannered in front of me." Ethan immediately turned to shield her, not caring who was right or wrong. "Rachel Lane, you're the elder, how can you hit Emily?" Ethan demanded. I casually gifted him another slap. "Ethan Cole, have you come to your senses yet? Emily Hughes is just someone your family took in, she's not my relative. If she dares provoke me, I won't just deal with her, you won't escape either." At that moment, Brooke arrived and witnessed everything. "Molly, it's time. Lucas told me to come get you." Ethan immediately tensed. "Who's Lucas?" Emily, meanwhile, lit up as if she had uncovered a scandal. "So it's true, you really are keeping a lover outside, and you even dared to bring him here with you." I couldn't help laughing, it was almost pathetic how stupid she was. Right then, Lucas appeared, naturally slipping his arm around mine. His voice was low, warm, and unmistakably intentional. "Wife, are you ready? My cousin and my sister are waiting for us outside." His smile remained gentle, harmless even, but when he looked at Ethan Cole, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. "You must be Mr. Cole, I've heard so much about you." Seeing Lucas and me standing together, Ethan's face froze in disbelief. "Rachel Lane, you're married?" I answered without hesitation. "Just registered. The formal wedding will be next month." Hearing me admit it myself, Ethan seemed stunned. Just 1 month, 1 month of not seeing me, and suddenly Rachel Lane, whom everyone claimed was perfectly matched with him, supposed to be his destined partner, had married someone else. I turned to warn Emily coldly. "Lucas isn't some lover from outside. And if you don't want the Cole Corporation to collapse, you'd better keep your mouth shut." Emily pouted but secretly looked triumphant. In her mind, no one was left to compete with her for Ethan anymore. Lucas, however, was both surprised and delighted. He hadn't expected me to defend him so directly. Ethan, meanwhile, could only laugh bitterly. Once I had treated him this way jokingly, but now everything had changed completely. Lucas and I held hands and walked off together. "Ethan, don't be mad," Emily said, trying to contain her excitement as she tugged on Ethan's sleeve. "I'll stay by your side from now on." But he suddenly shoved her away. Later, when Lucas and I publicly announced our marriage at the press conference, Ethan unexpectedly rushed onto the stage. He grabbed my hand in panic and lowered his voice pleadingly. "Rachel Lane, you're just angry at me, right? All of these people, you hired them, didn't you? The day of the engagement, I was late. That was my fault. Let's not fight anymore, okay?" I had never seen Ethan lose control like this in public. He didn't love me. This reaction was nothing more than wounded pride and refusal to accept defeat. Emily was frantic and enraged, shouting at the reporters not to take pictures while trying to drag him off stage. Eventually, Lucas called security to escort Ethan out. I simply watched the entire scene with a cold, distant gaze. Not long afterward, Emily confronted me again, blocking me right in the lobby of my company. I spoke plainly, not bothering to soften the blow. "Ethan Cole is your uncle. Even without me, don't think you can use petty tricks to chase after some ridiculous fantasy." She tried provoking me again. "You've chased after Ethan since you were young. Now the Cole family plans to pair him with the daughter of Sterling Group. Doesn't that bother you at all?" Her scheming was written all over her face, treating everyone else as fools she could manipulate. I only found it amusing. "Emily Hughes, I'm married. Whatever happens between you and Ethan has nothing to do with me. And by the way, President Kingston is old and finally had one daughter. If you know what's good for you, don't provoke his precious girl." But Emily clung stubbornly. "Rachel Lane, Ethan lost all dignity because of you. Don't think you can walk away from this. If he's forced to be with someone else, I won't live anymore." Of course, Ethan coddled her for years. No wonder it destroyed her common sense. My eyes darkened. "Then go ahead and die." Emily Hughes trembled with rage, but before she could explode, I had already turned and headed upstairs in my heels. A week later, news about her reached me. Because of a limited edition lipstick, Emily had gotten into a physical fight with the daughter of the Kingston family right in the middle of a shopping mall, completely destroying the marriage alliance between the two households. The Cole family immediately severed ties with her. In the past, I had tolerated her far too much, which only fed her arrogance. This time, she did not disappoint, finally bringing back a consequence fitting for her behavior. On the day Lane Group officially acquired Cole Corporation, I met Ethan Cole again. As we signed the transfer agreement, he looked at me with a complicated expression. "You were the one behind the market takeover that pushed Cole Corporation into this corner." I replied coolly, "Cole Corporation ended up here because of your own actions. I simply followed the flow." Even within his disappointment, he still tried to cling to a sliver of hope. "Rachel Lane, can I stay at Cole Corporation? We could work together again, like before." I gathered the documents, stood up, and spoke directly. "Ethan Cole, even without you, I could still create a proposal that would fully satisfy any client. From the moment Cole Corporation was absorbed by Lane Group, you already lost to me. That's all there is to it." In the months that followed the acquisition, Lane Group's expansion into the global market moved faster than even I had anticipated. Under Laura Turner's leadership, our international division became a cornerstone of the company's growth. Every milestone reminded me that my choice to sever ties with Ethan had never been a loss. It was freedom. Lucas Turner kept his word from the beginning. He didn't try to dominate my decisions, didn't compete with my ambition, and didn't project his insecurities onto me. Instead, he stood beside me, quietly, unwaveringly, offering support only when I needed it. That kind of steadiness, I learned, felt much more like love than the dramatic sacrifices people wrote into stories. One evening, after a long day of meetings, I returned home to find Lucas in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, attempting to cook dinner. He glanced over his shoulder at me, smiling in that disarmingly gentle way that always managed to slip past my defenses. "You're home," he said. Good timing. I'm not sure if this is edible, but I tried. I leaned against the doorway, watching him with unexpected warmth stirring in my chest. You know, I said, most people start with something easier than a full 3-course meal. He laughed. Most people don't marry you. I shook my head, but the smile tugging at my lips refused to fade. Lucas crossed the room, took my hand, and placed it over his heart. Rachel, he said softly, I don't need you to love me the way stories describe love. I just want the chance to build something real with you, even if it's slow, even if it's imperfect. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I thought of all the years I had spent being shaped into the perfect fiancée for someone who never saw me, someone who believed my value lay in how quietly I endured. Standing here now, I understood how wrong that life had always been for me. I don't want perfection, I finally said. I just want honesty, and peace, and maybe a place where I don't have to fight every single day just to be acknowledged. Lucas lifted my hand and kissed it gently. Then stay here, he murmured, and let me fight with you, not against you. For the first time in a very long time, I allowed myself to exhale. The world outside didn't stop watching, of course. Ethan Cole tried to return several times, sometimes out of regret, sometimes out of pride. Emily Hughes eventually faded from the public eye after her own missteps caught up to her. Their shadows no longer had the power to stretch into my life. Lane Group went public. The Turners and Lanes became equal partners, not because of obligation, but because of respect. And somewhere in the whirlwind of mergers, negotiations, and late-night strategy sessions, I found something I never expected to earn. A sense of home. Months later, as Lucas and I stood on the balcony of our new penthouse, city lights sparkling beneath us, he wrapped an arm around my waist and whispered, You know, I'm still waiting for the day you say you like me, even half as much as you dislike Ethan. I nudged him with my elbow. Don't push your luck. He laughed softly, leaning his forehead against mine. I'll wait, however long it takes. For once, waiting didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a promise. And for the first time in my life, I let myself believe in a future I had chosen, not one chosen for me. That was the real beginning. The beginning of my story. The beginning of us. Have you ever found yourself competing for love you should have never had to fight for? Love and Lies story.